What's going on, guys? Foxxy here, and today we're going to take a look at Resogun, exclusively made for the PS4. This game was a launch title with the price tag of $15, but you could have downloaded it for free at the time with a subscription to PlayStation Plus. It was developed by Housemarque, who also created Super Stardust HD, Dead Nation, Outland, and quite a few more. So from here, let's go straight to the solo game modes, and you have a choice from either arcade or single level. Single level is exactly what you would think it would be. You pick whatever level you want and some other options, and then you play it. Now with arcade, you play through all 5 levels of the game from beginning to end, but you have the option to start at a later level and play through the rest of the game if you want. Anyway, after you select the mode, you can pick whatever difficulty you want, ranging from so easy it's boring to ridiculously hard, and then you have a choice of 3 spaceships that you can play as: Nemesis, Ferox, and Phobos. Now, is it just me, or does Phobos look almost exactly like the Slave One from the old Star Wars films? Well, regardless, each of these ships have different stats and weapons, making them all unique, such as Phobos being the most powerful, but has the smallest amount of boost, and it's also incredibly slow, whereas Nemesis is the most agile, has the largest amount of boost, but his weapons and overdrive are pretty weak. And I'll get to what boost and overdrive do later, but for now I'm going to focus more on the overall gameplay.
Keepers detected. Weapon powered up. Extra life.
Well, I'm going to be completely honest. I really didn't expect much from this game because I never really got into Super Stardust or any of the other games made by this developer, but within like 5 or so minutes of playing it, I was hooked. I love how colorful and detailed the graphics look, it plays incredibly smooth, and it's very addicting. The gameplay is also so simple that I can imagine anyone from really any age or experience picking up this game and enjoying it. The premise of Resogun is that you are sent to these planets and you are told to save the last humans before the aliens kill them. To save the humans, you have to destroy the keepers who are guarding them, and then from there you pick up the human and bring him back to one of the 2 portals. If you don't save the humans, it's not like you lose the game or anything, but if you do, then you get power-ups such as shields, bombs, weapon upgrades, or even an extra life, which is obviously going to be very helpful when playing on the harder difficulties. You beat each level by destroying enough enemies until the boss shows up. Now, some of these guys, even on the harder difficulties, are just way too easy to kill. I would go as far as to say probably some of the easiest bosses I've ever beaten. However, that partially depends on the ship that you are using. For example, the end boss to the level Fibrous, all you really have to do is move away from where the guy is chasing you from and shoot. It really doesn't get any more complicated than that. Now, having said that, there are a few bosses that can get pretty frustrating at times, like the final boss and his tentacle attacks. There are a couple tricks to beating him, like when he gets into his last attacking phase. Just boost in between his body, and there you go, you should be able to beat him no problem. Alright, so finally let's talk more about your weapons and abilities. First off, you have Boost, and what you can do with this is not only avoid oncoming fire, you can boost straight through enemies to kill them as well. And the more enemies you kill using it, the longer it will last. Then afterwards you have to wait for it to recharge again. The other ability you have, which I mentioned before, is called Overdrive. When you activate this, everything will go into a slow-mo and you fire a giant laser beam that instantly kills anything it touches, not counting bosses. If you use this against a huge horde of enemies, it's going to rack you up a very high amount of points as well. To recharge your overdrive, you have to destroy enemy ships and pick up enough points to fill it back up again, unlike Boost, which just recharges on its own over time. Outside of those abilities, you also have bombs. When used, they'll destroy everything on screen outside of bosses and humans, but the problem with these is that once you use them, it leaves you very open to losing your multiplier. You can lose your multiplier by not hitting or killing an enemy in a set amount of time, and you can also lose it by dying. So really, the best thing to do with these is to just use them as a last resort, because I don't really think it's worth the risk of losing your multiplier. Unless, of course, you're one of those players who doesn't really care about getting a high score. Now, although I really like this game, it does have a couple flaws. I've tried to play co-op a few times with my friends, and each time we've tried, it was always very laggy and buggy to the point of it being just completely unplayable. Now, yeah, it could be one of our connections being shitty, but I can't really say for sure because this is the only game that seems to give us these problems. Also, this game doesn't support any kind of local co-op to where like two people can play off one console on like a split screen or whatever, and that's pretty disappointing. Another complaint I have is that Resogun doesn't really have any special game modes like time attack or even a survival type mode. You either have arcade or single level plus the co-op, which I didn't mention. It's the same exact thing as solo, except now you have a friend to play with. I don't know, I think it's pretty sad because Resogun has a shit ton of potential to have more exciting and unique modes, and I'm not really sure why they didn't add more to the game. Okay, so to my final thoughts. Even though I had a couple complaints like the online connection and the lack of game modes, I can still say that Resogun is easily in the top 5 of my favorite PSN games. The graphics are amazing, it has great music and sound effects, and the gameplay is fantastic. If you didn't have PlayStation Plus by the time they gave this out for free, would it be worth the $15 price tag? I'd say definitely. Even though the game is pretty short, it doesn't mean that it suffers from low replay value. If you're the type of person who likes to keep getting a higher score and challenging your friends to beat it, then the replay value is practically limitless.